640 WGST, the Sully Show, every Monday at 1:35. It is our Marijuana Monday segment, talking about the many different sides of that plant. Of course, recreational, industrial, but also medicinal. A lot of talk about that here in the state of Georgia. A lot of talk about that around the country. Our Marijuana Monday segments, content provided by Halcyon Organics. Visit them online, halcyonorganics.com. The first medical cannabis company in the South. Again, halcyonorganics.com. Thanks to them. Let's get to our guest here. We're going to spend a half hour with him. The website is vfcannabis.org, and we're talking now with Josh Littrell. When we say VF, what does that mean?
Well, Sully, it means Veterans For.
Veteransforcannabis.org.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So how'd you get started in this?
You know, it's kind of a roundabout way. I served in the Air Force for 6 years. Got out, 2 tours overseas, so really enjoyed it. You know, did everything I wanted to in the Air Force and served my country, my family, my friends. And then I had the opportunity to go to Vermont for a job. And when I was in Vermont, I got my medical cannabis card because I suffer from chronic pain, degenerative disc disease, and some bulging and herniated disc in my back. Just different hits that we've taken through the years, you know, and things that change your life that you don't really see at that point in time, how it's going to affect you going forward. And then it does in a tremendous way that just it stops everything that you do. It stops you in your tracks. So I was in Vermont, and I got my medical card up there and had the opportunity to grow cannabis on my own. So I did that and really saw the benefit behind what medical cannabis does for not only for veterans, but for their family and their friends who also suffer from a number of different ailments as well. So I saw the benefit from myself, what I could do for me, weaning myself off of the prescription pain medications that the VA basically just tosses at you. You know, it's tough, too, because they'll throw medication at you all day to medicate you, to make you a zombie. And that's not what we want to be. We want to be beneficial to society, you know?
And some of the narcotics that they're giving you in hospitals, VA or otherwise, are really bad for you. They're not helping. They're just masking the pain, and they're not. They're really doing quite a bit of harm to your body.
Oh, they absolutely do. You know, the things that I take to offset my liver issues, you know, the kidney issues that can come up. There's so many different things that are side effects to the prescription pain medications and narcotics that come along with it. You know, I tell my story all the time because I founded Veterans for Cannabis because it's a personal cause for me. Not only is it me that I'm trying to protect and make sure that I'm not going to die. There are 22 veterans a day that are killing themselves due to PTSD-related issues. And veterans die at a 50% greater rate from accidental overdose from prescription pain medications. That's crazy when you think about it. These people are just dying every single day. They've put their life on the line, served our country, put themselves in harm's way, serving us, and then they come home and die because they're getting prescription pain medications that they're overdosing on, not intentionally.
So you're in Vermont, and you get your card. What's that like for the first time doing medical marijuana, having a legitimate reason to do it? Was it your first time?
You know, it wasn't my first time. It was the first time that I really saw benefit behind it. Honestly, when I first got my card, it's one of those, I walk out of the state capitol there in Montpelier, and I have this card, and I'm like, wow, I'm looking around for the DEA or somebody to come in and bust me because I'm like, what's going on? And then the first time that I grew in my apartment up there, I rented from a cop, and he didn't know I was growing at the time. And unfortunately, he got cancer while I was there. And I talked to him. I stayed there for 3 years, so I talked to him about midways through while I was up there. And really educated him at that point in time on the benefits behind cannabis. And he was one of those who initially was like, no, no, no. And then when he got cancer and his life changed, he saw the benefit behind it. And I was able to provide him with medication to help him get better.
So did he go and get his card and started changing his views on all this, right?
Yeah, he did, you know. And it's crazy because people don't want to make a change until they have to, you know, until it affects them. They kind of stay closed-minded initially until we were trying to educate them, you know, until something happens to them personally or one of their family members. People just, they turn their eyes or they close their eyes and they don't want to listen to what you have to say. But then when it comes down to it and they need help, the first one that gets called is me or Halcyon or the guys that are in our state trying to make our state better and bring medical cannabis here.
So you're in pain, you're hurting, your body's changing. You go into the state capitol there in Montpelier. You walk out with your card. You start growing. How did it change your life? What was it like to? Because I think people have this stereotype, and we think of people who have served in the military as very wholesome, very pure, not going to be doing any drugs. But now all of a sudden you're doing a drug, but it's a drug that you need.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, I'm from Northeast Georgia, so I'm a good old country boy that just grew up down here. That it was bad, and that's all I've ever known is it's bad, bad, bad. And here I am growing it in my apartment in Vermont, thinking I'm just committing sins all day long, And then the first time that I actually go to the dispensary up there, because in the meantime, while I was growing, there was no product. So they had a dispensary there. So I got my medication from the dispensary. So I go into the dispensary and get it, and I use my medication for the first time legally. And literally, it makes you feel so much better immediately. So the pills and stuff that I take, and I'll share with you too, unfortunately right now in the state of Georgia, I can't use cannabis. I can't even consume cannabis because the VA, the Veterans Administration, will not give me pain medication if I test positive for cannabis. So that's one of the bigger reasons that I'm fighting this fight as well. Not only is it personal for me, but all the other veterans that have served that could see the benefit behind this as well. So I used up there, and it's one of those where as soon as you use it, you feel the benefit from it. The pain medications, you take them, it may be an hour or 2 hours later that you finally get some benefit from it, but then 2.5 hours, 3 hours later, you're falling asleep. You're a zombie. And the benefit behind medical cannabis, the way I feel, I can get up and do things. I can be a beneficial member of society, where on prescription pain medications that I'm on every single day, it's tough for me. At the end of the day, I'm spent. It's everything I have to stay moving forward under the narcotic pain medications, But cannabis is completely different. As soon as I use my medication, I'm good to go.
Josh Littrell is with us. The website is vfcannabis.org. That's Veterans for. That's what the VF stands for, vfcannabis.org. So you're growing. How are you consuming the marijuana after you begin being a medical marijuana user?
Initially, I smoked it like everyone there, but there's been a lot of different changes in the consumption arena, and I actually preferred to vape at the time when I left Vermont. It was so much better. I'm staunchly against cigarettes. I've never liked them at all. My father smoked when I was growing up, so it was tough for me. So I never really liked smoking much, but vaping is completely different. I've used some edibles as well, so edibles are good. You can do so many different things with it, and that's also what VF Cannabis is here to do, is to bring education to the general population so they understand the different ways to have delivery systems of cannabis in their system. We're talking about children and helping them out from the seizures and issues they may have. A child can't smoke a bowl or smoke a joint, and we don't want them to. So we help them with edibles or a tincture or things that they can put under their tongue. So there's a lot of different delivery methods that you can use with it.
See, because I think when you say medical marijuana and you're talking about younger people, they think that there's like, a 5-year-old out behind the dumpster, taking a hit out of a bong. One of the guys who you'll probably hear from if he calls in, Randy, will certainly call and throw these presentations at you. But it's not like that at all. And before we go to the break, what types of things are these veterans suffering from? You said PTSD. What specifically does the cannabis help them with?
Yeah, PTSD is a real big one, and that's one that we're fighting really hard to make sure that Georgia addresses and that we put on our list of ailments. Chronic pain is another tremendous benefit from medical cannabis that we see with it, but there's so many different things that come along with it. So MS, cancer, all the things that are really tremendous killers of our normal population, our citizens of America, and cannabis can help alleviate those issues or address them and help them live a more substantial life. Even though they're going to die, they may die, in 4 or 5 months, but we're going to make their quality of life much better with medical cannabis.
Sully Show on GST, hanging out with Josh Littrell, who's from Rabun County. You call it Rayburn up there, though, right?
Only if you get outside the county lines.
Dillard House. It's beautiful up there in the mountains,
beautiful.
Man. You have a little Confederate flag here and there, too, up that neck of the woods.
Plenty of them, that's for sure.
So then it must have been cool to be in Vermont because it is somewhat similar, a similar kind of life. But what was the culture differences between Rabun County and up there in Montpelier, Vermont? It's got to be a lot.
Tremendous difference, and it's funny because I talk about this all the time, how people say, well, I bet you hated it up there. And I'm like, no, I loved it. It's just like where I grew up.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely true. The mountains, they're beautiful, they're green, and it was wonderful, but the people are different. I lived here in Gwinnett County, and, I don't know, 1 million people in the county, and we go up to Vermont, and there's 600,000 people in the whole state.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference there. But, the people were different. They're really friendly, but they're more open-minded to issues like this, medical cannabis, for one, specifically. And it's different because, here you'll open your doors, let anybody in. Up there, they're a little more guarded. But once they get to know you, they're really tremendous people, and I really enjoyed it.
It's a hippie culture in Vermont.
Yes.
But it's also a hillbilly culture.
It is.
You have like a big gun libertarian, leave me alone, existing right next door to Birkenstocks and granola, and I vote for Obama and all this other stuff. I mean, it's a wonderful mix. I mean, it really is.
It's a quagmire. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And I used to talk about it all the time, how it has the most liberal gun laws in the nation, yet some of the most strict things coming along the lines to other things. The hippies that are there, and then you have these rednecks, just like you said, or hillbillies that are there too. So, but it was really enjoyable, and the people are wonderful.
Josh Littrell is in studio. It's Marijuana Monday here on WGST, vfcannabis.org. That's veterans4cannabis.org, the website. And we have put the bat signal out, and we have heard from our number one detractor. Now he is on the line, patiently waiting to give you a huge ration of you-know-what. It is Randy. Randy, how are you on the phone today, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Hey, Randy. Good afternoon.
Working outside, breathing clean, fresh air, painting a house, and with my respirator mask so I don't breathe any harmful fumes or anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, painting and clean, fresh air are really not two things that happen at the same time.
All you need is a little respirator mask, and that doesn't mean putting a vape thing on or smoking a bong or anything like that. Hey, thanks for your service, Mr. Littrell, by the way.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, you said something that's interesting to me about the VA won't let you have prescription meds if you test positive for using marijuana.
That's correct.
I saw a thing on a documentary when you mix some of these pharmaceutical meds with marijuana, it creates dangerous compounds. It could cause a lot of trouble. And I worry about some of the potheads that like to smoke pot and take their meds, whether they're telling their doctor that they're mixing it or if they're keeping it to themselves, and are they causing harm to themselves by secretly being a pothead, a dope head, and taking these meds? What do you think about, just fess up to your doctor and say, hey, I'm drinking whiskey and smoking reefer while I'm popping these pills you're giving me. Don't you think if you told the doctor, maybe he could tweak your prescription a little bit?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. You're exactly correct. There's been some indication that some of the, I believe, lipid medication that's out there, it does have some interaction with it. But as far as the narcotic pain medications go, there's not really been that much interactions with it. But unfortunately, we just don't have the information there. The studies aren't there to help us or help the doctors prescribe medications to the patients that are on medical cannabis, because the federal government won't allow us to study it properly. So unfortunately, we can't make those changes right now or make the recommendations because we don't have the information.
Right, so since they don't really even know what it does, the people that are saying that it's good for you, that's really a bunch of quackery, right? Because they really don't know.
Well, actually, I can speak from personal experience, and I can tell you that it absolutely does work. And the other veterans that I speak with that utilize medical cannabis, and they unfortunately don't even go to the VA anymore because they can't. But they've come off the PTSD medications. They've come off all the prescription pain medications, and they are using just cannabis to manage their pain or manage their anxiety that's associated with the PTSD, and they do it just with cannabis. And these people are really living a completely different life now because the medications with the PTSD and all those other issues that are coming down the line truly do make them zombies and put them in just a world of fuzz, and it's not clear at all when the cannabis helps them live a more clear life.
Do you think that possibly it could be It's just like if I'm feeling sick, I have the flu or a bad cold, I could take a couple shots of whiskey, and I think it makes me feel better. Could it be that it's just people are knocked out of their mind on this hallucinogen and think they feel better just because they're stoned out of their gourds?
You know, I personally, no, that's not the case for me. I've utilized cannabis for 6 years now, and really truly see the benefit behind it, and it does work. And it's not because I'm knocked out of my head, or anything. It's because the benefits are there and they're proven.
Are you high right now?
No, sir, I'm not. Unfortunately, I can't use here in the state.
Randy, thank you, brother. We got to let you go. Good. See, my goal, what I want to do is I want people like him
absolutely.
To hear from people like you,
right,
to tell the real story about what's going on. It's going to take a lot of convincing to him, but I'm glad to have him on every week because I think he represents an important part of this conversation. He represents the person who is a lawmaker and really stubborn about all this sort of stuff, right, but he also represents a large portion of the public who's like, I don't want anything to do with this medical marijuana. What's this nonsense, He plays that part well, but I love your part of the conversation because you're saying, hey, look, I'm a veteran. I served. I had pain. I had PTSD, and it's working for me, and it's working for many of my other soldiers as well.
Absolutely. And Sully, one of the biggest problems that I had initially, or thoughts, was how do I approach my family with this? I didn't share with them for a number of years that I was utilizing medical cannabis. And the family that's here in Georgia, I was really, really worried about it initially. But when I started coming out to my family and telling them the benefits behind it and what this was doing for me and my quality of life, I could literally see the doors coming down, the windows just opening up, saying, wow, if this is Joshua who's been good and done really wonderful things in his life, and he's using cannabis, and he's not a doped out druggie behind that dumpster that you're talking about getting high, that these are beneficial members of society that are utilizing cannabis, and when they see that and hear that, they've really just opened up, and that's been a tremendous benefit for me, that my family is behind me in what I'm doing as well.
How soon do you think we're going to have in-state cultivation here in Georgia? That's what everybody wants to know.
That's a great question. I honestly do believe it's going to happen next year. I think that June, July next year, it's going to happen. I think the recommendation that's going to come down from the Georgia Medical Cannabis Committee that's meeting right now, and the hearings are going on once a month, I think they're going to make a recommendation to the governor, and the governor is going to basically have no choice because he's going to see that the commission is behind it, the public's behind it, and now the governor doesn't want it, but it's going to have to happen. So I think next year is when we'll have in-state cultivation, and that's what Veterans for Cannabis is here for, that we're hopefully going to be one of the first ones that when we apply for a license to grow, we'll be issued that license to grow and distribute here in the state, and that's what our main goal is.
See, now I'm a real big fan of recreational. I think that the states of Washington, Colorado, Oregon, we've seen examples. There's no war on the streets. Nobody's yelling and screaming at each other. But I think that it's really critically important to get the medical thing up and running and off of the ground as the first thing that we do. I wish that the recreational people would come on board a little more and support the effort a little further.
Yeah, and I've said it before that I am for recreational use, but unfortunately I can't be for that right now because in the South, we're just not ready for it. Right. Just flat not ready for it. So I know that our main objective, the only way we're going to get recreational is if we get medical first, just like you said. And when they see that the benefit behind it is truly there, when these children are being helped, which is being helped right now, with our medical cannabis committee here. And now we're going to move to the adults. We're really going to change things and hopefully move in the right direction.
Joshua Littrell, founder and CEO of VFC, vfcannabis.org is the website. That's Vector Foxtrot Cannabis, right? Good little military
Victor
words.
Foxtrot, yes, sir.
Victor Foxtrot.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing, brother.
Absolutely, thank you.
Really appreciate it. 649. I'm going to come and visit you up in Rayburn,
too. Hey, come on.
My girl's mom is from that part of the country.
We'd love to have you.
We're up there. 640 WGST, The Sully Show, every Monday at 1:35. It is our Marijuana Monday segment, talking about the many different sides of that plant. Of course, recreational, industrial, but also medicinal. A lot of talk about that here in the state.